you suspect that you may be dealing with a covert narcissist, then you're definitely going to want to pay attention to this video, because I'm going to give you 11 signs that you may be dealing with a covert narcissist. So by the end of this video, you're going to know whether or not you may have a covert narcissist in your life. Hey there. So I am Rebecca Zung, and I am a narcissist negotiation expert. I'm also an attorney. I've been recognized as one of the top attorneys in the country. I've helped millions of people on this channel and thousands of people escape narcissists, escape lives of drama, trauma, and chaos, to step into lives of freedom, possibility, and purpose. And I want to help you too. So make sure that you subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell so that you can get notified when I upload brand new videos or go live or have events, which I upload new videos every single day. So make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell. Okay, so 11 ways to recognize a covert narcissist. I personally have had to deal with 2 covert narcissists who have targeted me in my personal life, and they are the worst, the absolute worst. Let me tell you, I think they're the worst because you can't spot them very easily. The grandiose narcissists are the ones that are out there bragging all the time. They're the ones telling you, oh, I'm so great, blah, blah, blah. The covert narcissists are the ones that look so kind and so sweet, and everybody thinks they're so wonderful. And so they save themselves for their actual targets. And the things that they do are so under the radar that when you go to tell people about it, people are like, well, that doesn't seem so bad. Or I don't know, maybe that was so inadvertent, because they're really so nice. So when I was dealing with them, it actually makes you even seem more crazy, because people are looking at you like, I don't know. That doesn't seem so bad. And it's absolutely maddening. It literally is like death by 1,000 cuts, or like that water dripping on your head. And you really do feel like you're going crazy. So it's absolutely horrible. So one of the ways, I'm going to go through 11 ways to recognize a covert narcissist. By the time we're done here, you're going to really know whether or not you're dealing with a covert narcissist in your life. So the first way that you can recognize a covert narcissist is that they are passive aggressive. And what I mean by that is that they don't right in your face do things. So, for example, they'll say that they're going to do something and then they just don't do it. And you're like wondering why they didn't do it. And you kind of ask them about it, and they'll just sort of not have a conversation with you about it, or it just doesn't come up, or they say that they're going to ask about it and then they just don't. And then you find yourself, should I bring it up or should I not? Or they will just put their names on things, and then you wonder why they did that, and you have to kind of have a conversation about it. They're not aggressive to your face. They do things where you're kind of feeling, especially if you are a good person, a kind person, where you find yourself, should I bring it up? Should I not bring it up? And it's very frustrating, very maddening. So that's number one. They're passive aggressive. Number 2 is that they are subtly competitive. So, you notice that they got something better than you, or they'll say, they're sicker than you, or they have something that whatever you have, they have more, they have better, but it's always sort of with a smile. And it's always like this undercurrent of it. It's not enough to really say something about, but there's always sort of this undercurrent. But to your face, they're so nice to you all the time. But there's this undercurrent of this feeling. But yet you are kind of wondering, is there something going on? Because to your face, they're so nice to you all the time. So that's number 2. Number 3 is withholding. They withhold things from you. They don't tell you about something that you're wondering about information. They don't tell you information. And then all of a sudden you're like, why didn't they tell me about that? And it's like weird things too, something that might have even sort of benefited the business, for example, like that really could have benefited both of you, but they just are so subtly competitive that they just don't want you to even have it either. So withholding information, withholding anything that could potentially benefit you. They're such in scarcity mentality, scarcity mode all of the time that they're withholding information or anything that could potentially benefit you or information that you might want to have. They just don't tell you. So withholding, that's number 3 way that you could recognize a covert narcissist or a sign of a covert narcissist. Number 4 way that you can recognize a covert narcissist is that they're extremely insecure. And here's the thing that's kind of interesting about a covert narcissist is that they may even tell you that they're insecure. They may even tell you about the way they feel about things because they do tend to be sort of downtrodden. They may even tell you that life has dealt them a bad hand, that life isn't fair to them. Sometimes with covert narcissists, they will tell you that life hasn't been good to them or something like that, because sometimes they do sort of have a victim mentality about them because they do sort of play on people's guilt. Sometimes you'll see that with covert narcissists as well. So that's number 4. Number 5 is they are often prone to depression or anxiety. And you will often hear them say that. The couple of covert narcissists that I have had to deal with, they actually straight up said, I've had to deal with depression. I have a therapist. And, they'll tell you, I've had to deal with that. But, again, sometimes they're playing on your sympathies and they're playing on them being a victim or something like that. So that is another way that you can recognize a covert narcissist. Number 6 way that you can recognize a covert narcissist is that they often have grandiose fantasies. In fact, one of the covert narcissists that I used to have to deal with would say she wanted to dominate the world or something like that. It wasn't about helping people necessarily. It was about world domination. But yet she wasn't really prepared to do the work to have world domination. She really just wanted to attach herself to people who were going to do the work. Because a lot of times you'll see that narcissists are inherently lazy. They really don't want to do the work. And, again, that's sort of the passive aggressive, going back to the number 1 sign of a covert narcissist. A lot of times they'll say that they're going to do something and then they just don't do the work. And that was one of the things that I saw in the covert narcissists that I was dealing with, is that they would say that they were going to do the work and then they would not do the work. And then, you would ask them about it and they would just, lie about it and say they were working on it and then they weren't working on it or something like that. And it's sort of like this passive aggressive thing, like you can't tell me what to do kind of a thing. And that was, sort of the passive aggressive thing. But that's number 6 sign or way to recognize a covert narcissist is these grandiose fantasies that they have, which is really part of any sort of narcissist. Because remember that even though they are covert narcissists, they are in fact narcissists, which, all narcissists have these grandiose fantasies about themselves. And by the way, if you want to know more about how covert narcissists interact in relationships. I do have a whole video on covert narcissism in relationships, which I highly recommend that you definitely check out. And they are definitely so sneaky. It's just so sick and so gross and so difficult to deal with. I mean, it really, really makes you crazy and makes you feel like you're crazy. It really does eventually suck the life out of you and makes you feel like you're going nuts. And I remember feeling like, oh, like this person is a leech. Like I felt like it was like a leech, like literally draining the life out of me. This is before I had the term energy vampire in my vernacular. Like I didn't even know that term before, I used to say leech, So, I mean, if you agree with me, like they're just like total energy vampires, just put energy vampire in the comments because they're just total energy vampires. All right. So that's number 6. Number 7 is they have a tendency to definitely hold grudges. I mean, they hold grudges forever. I mean, it's just because they have no sense of self, just the same as all narcissists. They just don't have that sense of self. And, when you don't have a sense of self, you definitely have a tendency to hold grudges because you don't have that sense of self. So, you want to get all of your value from external sources like that. So that's the number 7 way to recognize a covert narcissist. The 8th way that you can recognize a covert narcissist is that you are envious or jealous. When I was dealing with a covert narcissist is, when something good would happen with me, I got a really great television gig or something like that. Then the covert narcissists in my life would be like, oh, that's so great for you. Like you could definitely tell like they weren't happy for me. They outwardly pretend to be happy. They try to be happy, but they're really not because they're just so jealous. They're so envious, but they try to be outwardly happy, but they're really secretly very, very envious, very, very jealous people. So that's the 8th way that you can recognize a covert narcissist. The 9th way that you can recognize a covert narcissist is fake empathy. So one of the things that they do is they just show up wherever empathy can be shown up. So one of the things that I would see with some covert narcissists that I was dealing with is that, if somebody were sick, they would just show up there right in the middle of things with, the baskets of food or whatever, because there is an opportunity to get attention for themselves and look at me, look at how wonderful I am. This opportunity to show what a great person I am. And the person who can sit right at the bedside and be right in the middle of it and demonstrate that I am such a wonderful person and everybody else is so not a wonderful person. It's sort of this fake empathy though, because if there's not a show about it, if there's nobody to be seeing this person displaying all the empathy, then they don't bother. So it's only if there are certain people around to actually see them displaying this particular empathy, and only if it will serve them in certain circles. It's definitely strategic in nature. So it's kind of fake empathy, and it's very much strategic or tactical when needed. So fake empathy is the 9th way that you can recognize a covert narcissist. Number 10 way that you can recognize a covert narcissist is gaslighting. Gaslighting is definitely a personal favorite of all narcissists, but I think that covert narcissists are actually even better at it than any narcissist, frankly. I would see this especially with the covert narcissists that I dealt with, frankly, because they would be particularly good at spinning yarns. You know, they take shreds of truth or kernels of truth and spin it into, well, we talked about that. Don't you remember? You know, like they would take little pieces of it and then spin it into whatever they would want it to be. So, you know, go and do whatever it is that they would want to do. And you'd be over there going, what the hell do you think you're doing? And they would be like, oh, well, we talked about that. We never talked about you doing that. But they would take like a little piece of what you talked about and then go and do whatever they wanted. And then they would refer back to it. They would take the piece of it that they would want and refer back to it and do whatever they wanted with that little piece of what you talked about. But, you know, make it seem like you had talked about that whole entire part, but you know that you didn't. So that's gaslighting. They're really, really good at it. And because they seem to the rest of the world as such good people, so kind, oh my goodness, but look at what they did for this person who had cancer. They stood by their side and they did all these things. So to the rest of the world, since they're so nice and they're so kind, they kind of get away with a whole lot more. It's so maddening in a lot of ways. So that's number 10 is gaslighting. And number 11 is their flying monkeys. They love their flying monkeys. They love to use those flying monkeys. So flying monkeys are third parties that they use to line up as their like army of people to have them on their side, to let you think that these people believe their lies, believe their agendas, believe that everyone else is thinking what they think. Everyone else thinks that they're wonderful, that you're not, that you feel more isolated, more alone. It's really a form of bullying in a way. But here's the thing that I do remind people about flying monkeys, and that is that a lot of times the flying monkeys really don't even realize that they're being lined up against you. They're being love bombed by that person as well. They're being charmed by that person. They don't know what's going on. They don't realize that that person has this agenda. They just think that person is nice. They're not in the inner circle a lot of times, and they don't see what's happening. They're not being necessarily targeted by that person. So they don't see that passive aggression. They don't necessarily see that subtle competition. They don't see the covert narcissism in that person a lot of times. They just see the good side a lot of times. So it's kind of hard to tell a lot of times if that flying monkey or those flying monkeys actually know what's going on. I don't know. But the best thing for you to do is get the hell out of there and never look back. That's for sure. And if you're having to negotiate with them, definitely subscribe to this channel, hit that notification bell, and grab my free Crush My Negotiation Prep worksheet at winmynegotiation.com. Join my free private Facebook group, Narcissist Negotiators with Rebecca Zung, for sure. And remember that today's a great day to start negotiating your best life, because it definitely is. And never give in, never give up. You can beat any kind of narcissist, whether they're covert, grandiose, or whatever they are. Believe me, I've helped thousands of people. I can help you too. So thanks so much for being here. And I will definitely see you in the next video.